Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the channel. Charlie Strong was in interview for the defensive coordinator position. And Texas and Oklahoma officially will be going to the SEC in 2024. So, obviously, we have a defensive coordinator in Lance Guidry, or Guidry. That kind of pronunciation kind of is tricky from time to time. But it's reported that Charlie Strong was, I guess, I don't want to call it an interview, but was spoken to by someone from ESPN. And his saying was basically the University of Miami went in a direction, so he's going to go in another direction. And at the end of said statement, it was stated that he was not even interviewed for the defensive coordinator position. Now, in one of my previous videos, I made the statement that, well, he didn't necessarily have to, at least in my opinion, interview for the defensive coordinator position for the simple fact that he had already interviewed previously, and obviously Mario saw fit that he could be the linebackers coach. Even though I'm sure that wasn't the initial interview, I'm sure he got an overall direction in which he was going to take a defense. And maybe Mario asked him, well, what would you do for the linebacker position? Obviously D-line and things of that particular nature. So I didn't necessarily see that he needed to be interviewed in general. But then I stopped and I thought for a second. I said, well, wait a minute. He was a part of the defense, game planning, film study, amongst other things this particular year. He has a hands-on experience about what particular weaknesses were in terms of defense, maybe handling different defensive linemen and even linebackers rotations, obviously looking at what may be potentially the best cornerback tandem, obviously safety tandem moving forward. So obviously another interview probably could have nailed some of those particular things home, but apparently he wasn't interviewed whatsoever. Now, some people have indicated that maybe this was due to the fact that he may have been lackadaisical in, some of the things that Mario may have wanted from him to do, as well as Kevin Steele, in terms of maybe recruiting, in terms of maybe direction of programs, or just being on one particular accord. And when obviously, again, when you're dealing with this type of dysfunction, especially from a so accomplished staff of coaches, you never know where to point, in terms of when this thing is wrong, who's actually should bear the most responsibility. The defense wasn't great by any stretch this particular year, but I did think we saw some glimpses of some things that would look better maybe if we had a little bit more talent, especially at the linebacker position, even along the defensive line, which is a position group that played, pretty well for the most part of the season, but still could have played better, in setting the tone against some particular teams. But obviously, again, with so much stuff going on off the field, you get what is replicated off the field on the field. So, that's kind of what it is. And again, maybe this is one of those deals where Mario says, you know what, hey, look, I don't want to keep proverbial dead weight around in terms of maybe a coach not giving their all. But, I'm kind of disappointed to hear that news. But again, at the end of the day, the University of Miami is bigger than one particular coach, is bigger than one particular coaching staff. So at the end of the day, Mario Cristobal is the head coach, and if that's the direction that he wants to lead the University of Miami program in, then, hey, I have no choice but to accept it. There's no need for me to have a pity party, whine, cry about it, or any of that particular thing. But at the end of the day, with that being said, it is so imperative that Lance Guidry works. And just based on the style of defense that he calls, based on the things that, he does in terms of defense, then it should work. Now, I'm going, again, with all these particular hires, regardless of resume or whatever, I'm always cautiously optimistic, because what I see right now is a scenario where it seems a lot of people are looking at what transpired at Marshall last year and are just taking slight or adding slightly to those particular numbers. And if we're talking about a top 10 defense and you're adding slightly to the numbers, it seems to be the general consensus is that, okay, well, we should be looking at least a top 30 defense going into next year. And That would be fantastic. That would be great. And like I said on the previous video, I would not, again, not holding his feet to the fire, but it would not surprise me if we do see a Manny Diaz type of turn in terms of the defense. And if that transpires, then this whole Charlie Strong as well as Kevin Steele thing will just go to the wayside. However, if it looks the same, I don't know what to say. But anyway, University of Oklahoma and Texas are going to the SEC. They have been granted their release to go to the SEC in the 2024 season. Now, when I made the video and I made the statement that Steve Sarkisian has to make the playoff, one of the things that I stopped and I thought about after the fact was like, dang, man, they're not going in 2024. They're going in 2025. So he has 2 years maybe before, he may have another year where he could make the playoff. But seeing is that they're granted their release, what I stated in that video is even more imperative now. The next video I'm going to make is I'm going to talk about something that Blake Corum said, and so I'm going to go a little bit more in detail about Texas, not so much Oklahoma. But the final statement I want to make about this particular subject is I was listening to Zach Smith, and he was speaking about this. Obviously, he was speaking prior to the announcement of them going to the SEC in 2024. And he was saying that both teams, maybe they need that year of trying to get that roster together, to get that second recruiting class in terms of Oklahoma, to maybe put a better product together to go over to the SEC. But now it's balls to the wall. Brent Venables, we'll see what type of coach he will be this upcoming season. Maybe 8 or 9 wins, second year, maybe even 7. No, probably 8 or 9 wins going into this second particular season. That may be good enough to maybe say, okay, well, they can fight a little bit in the SEC. Obviously has one of the best offensive coordinators in the country, but it's going to be interesting to see how both teams transition going to the SEC. And what would be egg on both teams' faces is if neither one of them were to win the Big 12. And to me, that would be a rocky start. And obviously that would put Steve Sarkisian on the hot seat. And it would warm up Brent Venables' seat because it's just that high leveraged of a situation going into the SEC. But with that being said, man, like, share, subscribe, comment, and I'm out. Oh, yeah, it's all about the you.